I tell you what, reading through this chapter and the next chapter they're hard, but it's the crux of our salvation. And it's, if we don't fully grasp the message of salvation, grace, and mercy that Jesus extended to us, then I just don't even know what to say, honestly. Um, his salvation is so powerful that he has extended this gift to us. And just to read what he did for us is just astounding, and it breaks me every time. So let's pick up in verse 47. While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now, I have seen this told that it was Roman soldiers that came and got Jesus, but Rome was not involved yet. So right now it says that these people were sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. So they sent a mob, basically. They were armed with swords and clubs. These were not skilled people. These were just, this was an angry mob that they had handpicked to go and get Jesus. Obviously, these weren't going to be the people that have been following Jesus and had loved him dearly. These were going to be people that they had already kind of built up in their anger and to go get him. So it's not Roman soldiers here. Also, okay, so we'll keep going. Verse 48. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him. Now, interesting here. Matthew says Judas, one of the 12, arrived. But he doesn't say in verse 48, now Judas had arranged a signal with him. He changed it to now the betrayer. Matthew feels a lot of pain from this. The betrayer had arranged a signal with him. The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, Greetings, Rabbi. Again, he says Rabbi, and kissed him. Jesus replied, Friend, do what you came for. Now the Greek phrasing is actually, for what reason have you come? Basically asking, do you know what you have just done? Do you realize what have you come for? And do you fully understand what you've come for? Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Okay, so back up just slightly. When Jesus says friend, remember I also talked about friend has different words. Well, this is similar to one that we talked about before. This is heteros, which is posing to be a friend, but only having their own interest in mind. And this is exactly what Judas is doing. He's not truly a friend. He's only posing, pretending to be a friend because of his own interests. And this kiss that he gives it was a general custom to give a kiss on the cheek, but it's ironic and filled with hypocrisy because of what his purpose was. And Proverbs 27:6 says this. Let's turn there. Proverbs 27:6. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. So this is exactly what Judas has done. Also in Isaiah 29:13, we read this. The Lord says, These people come near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips. So he's coming near with the kisses. And honor me with their lips, saying, Rabbi, honorable sir. But their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is made up only of rules taught by men. He was more willing to please the Pharisees than to serve his Lord and Master, which, of course, he doesn't even see him as his Lord. So, going back to now verse 51, because I think this is funny yet again, because Matthew and Mark don't say who any of it is. They don't point the fingers. But it says, with that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. So Matthew and Mark don't say who this is, but let's see what John says, because it's just quite funny to me. John says this, then Simon Peter. So you guys aren't going to say, I'll tell you, it was Peter. Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. Oh, by the way, that servant's name was Malchus. So John tells it all. And he even says, Jesus commanded Peter, put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me? So uh, John is just like, throws people under the bus. He doesn't care. um, so in 52, Jesus says the same thing here in Matthew. Put your sword back in his place. Of course, John says who he's talking to. Jesus said to him, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way? This comes from his time of prayer, where God had to strengthen his heart and prepare him. At that time, Jesus said to the crowd, am I leading a rebellion that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sat in the temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. So they had to wait till Jesus gave the permission. And at that moment, that's when they could proceed with their arrest. So the words were given to the prophets. God had given these words to the prophets to speak forth, and the prophets had to speak it forth. And now everything is being fulfilled, but it has to be fulfilled to a T. And that's exactly what Jesus did. So for thousands of years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, a great span of years of a lot of people that weren't necessarily connected, everything was being fulfilled in impossible ways for every little detail to have been fulfilled. And even in the Old Testament with some of these prophecies, there was mysteries that were all in those prophecies that some wouldn't have been able to understand what it was meant until now, retrospect, and looking at everything that Jesus fulfilled. So this is just one aspect of how we know that truly that Jesus is the Messiah, that everything, it is impossible to fulfill every single prophecy that was made, and yet he fulfilled every single one up until the second coming, which is clear that we know that there is that second coming. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll pick up in verse 57 as we finish off this chapter.